Hey everyone, Austin from Lifted Life Garage here. Appreciate you tuning in. I just wanted to do a quick video on a kind of a feedback or review after a couple weeks of having the lift kit, wheels, and tires installed. So on here, I have a 2019 F-150. It has a 3.5 liter EcoBoost in it, 10-speed transmission, and it's geared at 355 gear ratio, okay? It is a crew cab long bed, as you can see. So for the lift kit itself, I went with the 6-inch Performance Elite Coilover kit from BDS Suspension, okay? I'm not going to get into a lot of detail why I went with BDS. I actually have a video already created specifically as to why I chose BDS, but this is pretty much their top of the line kit for this truck, the F-150, minus the traction bars. I did not get those, but it is the suspension. It has the 2.5 coilover with the remote reservoir and DSC adjustment in the front. I also went with the 2.5 Fox factory race rear with the remote reservoir with DSC adjustment as well. I use this truck for camping, overlanding, daily driving. I put stuff in the bed, got a toolbox in back, so I wanted to upgrade the suspension to something that, one, could accommodate off-road use, two, gives me a good ride quality on the street, and three, that I could adjust the actual suspension for whatever application I was using it for, whether it be low speed, high speed, if I want it stiffer for cornering and everything along those lines, and road use and off-road use, okay? So I've had the truck now lifted for about 2 weeks, and I have to say I am very thoroughly impressed with the ride quality that this suspension kit gave the truck, okay? It's kind of a known thing. When you lift a truck, you're going to lose ride quality. It's not going to ride the same as factory. You're changing the geometry of the drive line. You're changing, obviously, the overall weight, the rolling mass of the vehicle. It's not going to ride the same as factory. Now, I have to say this is as close to factory, if not an improvement over factory, based off of how I like the truck to feel when handling, okay? I don't have body roll whatsoever when I'm cornering or anything like that, but when I'm driving down the road, this thing literally feels like it's floating down the road, okay? On here, it's a 6-inch lift. I went with a 37-1250 Nitto Recon Grappler wrapped around an 18-inch fuel covert wheel, okay? I went with an 18-inch because, one, I like to have more sidewall. I know a lot of people run 20s, 22s, 24s, and that's cool and all. I'm not bashing those. That's just not my style. I like to, again, I use the truck for wheeling off-road, and I want as much sidewall as I can get for protection against rocks and things like that when I do go off-roading. But two, also, the thicker sidewall is going to give me a more plush and comfortable ride. So I've ridden on trucks with 20s, I've ridden on trucks with 22s. The less sidewall you have on your tire, the stiffer it's going to become, all right? Now, I also wanted to make sure I was able to squeeze 37s on here without having to absolutely hack up the front end of my truck, cut out the crash bars, cut the trim back here in the rear. So I went with a +1 offset wheel. A +1 offset wheel is not going to stick out as far as a lot of what you see in you know, the Stance's Life and things like that, a roller skate going down the road. But it does stick out maybe 1/4 of an inch past the fender well, so I still get a little bit of a better stance than a factory wheel. But two, the scrub radius with a +1 offset wheel allows the wheel to or the tire to kind of tuck in and miss these, you know, this part of the bumper and everything like that. So I have not touched my crash bars. I still have my crash bars in here. I did trim right here, this little front valance. I took this in. It used to come straight down, and that was the only part that was touching on this lift. So now I will disclose, when I am turning left and I hit an embankment, or you know, I take it off-road and hit a rock just at the right angle of when I'm turning, on the right side, I will kiss the front crash bar. But it's not to a point where I'm ripping off valances, I'm, you know, bending the bumper or ripping this plastic trim off because of how wide my stance was. So, again, not bashing the wide stance. I like how the look of it is. It looks cool. However, I wanted functionality without hacking up the front end of my truck. So, yes, again, overall ride quality with this setup is it's great. I like it better than the factory ride that this provided. So Let's talk about the impact of lifting it, right? So again, when you lift it, you know, kind of ride quality is going to go, and you also know your economy is going to go when it comes to fuel mileage, things like that. Now again, I have a 10-speed in this with the 3.5 gear ratio. Before I did the lift kit, around town I was getting like 17, 18 miles per gallon. And I was getting around 20 to 22 highway as long as I stayed under 70 miles an hour. Once I went over 70 miles an hour, I actually got worse economy than I did city driving, okay? Now, I have to say, I did the lift kit and I was waiting on the tuner, so I drove around with the truck thinking it was on 31-inch tires, and I was getting around 12 to 13 miles per gallon. Now, I know that it was going to dip, but I also know that it was a little better than the 12 to 13 because the truck thought I was on a 31-inch tire, when in reality I changed it to a 37-inch tire. So every rotation, I was actually traveling farther than the truck thought I was. It was great for keeping the mileage down, but my speedometer was off and I wanted to get that fixed. So I reprogrammed the truck about 500 miles ago, and since then I have been getting around 15 to 16 miles per gallon. Now, I don't baby it, so I don't drive, you know, super slow off the line or anything like that, but I also don't drive it like I stole it, okay? So if I get on it and start hammering, I can see my miles per gallon dip pretty significantly pretty quickly. So yeah, and again, this is the 355 with the 10-speed. I am going to be re-gearing this to a 456. I'm just waiting on those to come in. So that will probably help me a little bit when it comes to city driving, and might get maybe 1 to 2 more miles per gallon back out of it. But I'll also probably see a slight dip at highway speeds depending on how fast I'm going. So I will be running at a slightly higher RPM than where it currently is with the 355 gear ratios off the line and things like that, but the engine will have to work less hard to get that rotating mass turning, and that's the whole purpose of regearing. So so yeah, I just again wanted to take a quick minute and talk to you guys about kind of the feedback, how the truck's been riding, and I have to say I am beyond impressed with the quality of ride with this BDS kit. It's extremely plush, it's great, but it's also, I still feel the road, it's still stiff enough where I don't get body roll, I get good feedback when cornering, everything along those lines. So yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in, and stay tuned for the gear swap and other videos that are coming down the line. Talk to you guys later.